We'll begin with a political standoff between Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his predecessor, current Minister of the FCT, Mr. Nyesom Wike in Rivers State, which may have just been put to rest with intervention of President Bola Tinubu. But this follows the release of an 8-point resolution after the meeting between the President and the river stakeholders at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. At the end of the meeting, all the parties agreed to immediately withdraw all legal matters instituted by Governor Fubara and his team in respect of a political crisis in the state. Also, impeachment proceedings against the governor are to be dropped immediately, and the leadership of the State Assembly, as led by Martin Amewule, be recognized alongside the 27 members who recently defected from the PDP. Other resolutions include the reinstatement of payment of remunerations and benefits of all members of the State Assembly, while the lawmakers will be free to choose where to sit for the legislative business without interference from the executive arm of government. The governor is also to represent the state budget to a properly constituted assembly, and the names of the commissioners who resigned are to be resubmitted to the assembly for approval. Finally, it was agreed that there should not be a caretaker committee for the local government, and the dissolution of the local government administration is null and void. But the document was jointly signed by Governor Fubara, the FCT Minister, Mr. Nyesom Wike, State Deputy Governor, Professor Ngo Udu, Speaker of the House of Assembly, Mr. Martin Amewule, as well as the Chairman of the APC in Rivers State, Tony Okocha, and his PDP counterpart, Aaron Chukwemeka. The National Security Advisor, Mr. Nur Badu, also signed that document. Now, before the President's intervention, the Federal High Court in Abuja had barred the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, from organizing by-election to replace the 27 members of the Rivers State House of Assembly who defected from the PDP to the APC. In the case, which is now expected to be withdrawn following today's meeting with the President, Justice Donatus Okorowo barred the defendants in the case from interfering with the 27-member camp of the Assembly from conducting their legislative duties. The judge also restrained the Inspector General of Police and the SSS from denying or refusing to provide security to the 27 lawmakers or withdrawing their security details. It subsequently adjourned to December the 28th for hearing. Well, the agreement brokered by the President is also coming on the heels of a meeting of a group under the aegis of the Rivers Elders and Leaders Forum, who condemned what they described as moves to impeach Governor Siminalayi Fubara without any vivid reason. Well, the group had claimed that there was a rumored judicial plot to garner support for the impeachment process, and they appealed to President Tinubu to intervene and stop the said plot to avoid deepening the crisis, a call which incidentally appears to have heeded. In their communique, which had former governor of the state, Rufus Ada George, as one of the signatories, the elders also condemned the bombing of the Rivers State House of Assembly chambers, attack on Governor Fubara allegedly by some security agents on October the 30th, and other acts of lawlessness, saying that these portend great danger to the peace and security of the state. They also urged the government to expedite action on rebuilding the demolished House of Assembly complex to ensure resumption of legislative business.
That judgment had been floating all over Rivers State. How can a judgment of a high court, non-ruled, be known and seen by a lot of people before this time? So that gave us a lot of concern, and that we highlighted it in this press statement. And unfortunately, that judgment was delivered as we read it, and in the same fashion. So that gave us concern. But we are not lawyers. Most of us are not lawyers. We have to refer to the legal authorities to interpret and advise us on appropriate actions to take.
Well, away from the political situation in Rivers State now, the Court of Appeal Abuja has affirmed Governor Ahmadu Fintiri of the People's Democratic Party as governor of Adamawa State after dismissing the appeal of Aisha Binani of the All Progressives Congress for lacking merit. In the judgment prepared by Justice Tunde Awutoye and read by Justice Ebiowe Tobi, the appellate court also awarded the cost of 500,000 naira in favor of Mr. Fintiri and the PDP against Mrs. Binani. The appellate court frowned at the premature announcement of the election outcome by the resident electoral commissioner, Hudu Ari.
It is not a full courtroom as members of the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressive Congress from Adamawa State are here at the courtroom of the Court of Appeal, Abuja, ahead of the judgment on the governorship appeal. While dismissing the appeal, the three-man panel held that the three witnesses called to establish malpractices in 27 local government areas of the state are mere hearsay witnesses and not party agents who were at the election venue. The witnesses were identified as campaign coordinators. The court held that it's against the law to attach probate values to the testimony of the campaign coordinators, since such is worthless in the face of the law. Besides, Justice Awotoye said that the brief of argument filed by Binani and APC was in contravention of the law, hence incompetent. The court stressed in strong terms that the action of the resident electoral commissioner in announcing Binani as winner was illegal and an action outside of that prescribed by law, as only the returning officer has such power. The court further dismissed the petition of Binani for failing to prove her allegations of overvoting by not tendering documents to prove her case.
On the technical level and on the merits, it is our humble view that this court has done justice to the petition that was submitted, the issues that were formulated, and the ultimate decision by the Court of Appeal is consistent with our law in Nigeria today as we know it.
Yes, quite unfortunate. The judgment is not favorable to our party, but just as you know, these are intermediate courts. We have the right to appeal to the Supreme Court. We're going to study the judgment, and upon study of judgment, we are going to get advice from our lawyers and see what our next possible line of action we want to take about the judgment.
The governor hails the judgment, promising more projects for the people of the state.
The court has further reaffirmed, because that is their responsibility. And I'm happy for that. I'm gratitude to them, because they've done what they're supposed to do. They've given judgment to whom deserves the judgment. And we'll go back. It will further strengthen us. We're already on the right track. We're moving. And we'll only make our people better. We'll take our people to the greater height. We'll take our people to the promised land.
The focus for now is the Supreme Court, where the All Progressive Congress and its candidate, Aisha Binani, will be appealing the judgment. Emanuela Ekele, Channels Television News.
Well, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is gearing up for the conduct of another round of elections in 34 constituencies across the country come February next year. The chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, stated this at a meeting with leaders of political parties in Abuja, where he briefed the politicians that the commission is preparing to conduct rerun and by-elections owing to court orders, death, and in some other cases, resignation of elected state and National Assembly members. Professor Yakubu says the commission will meet to review preparations and announce a definite date, including the detailed timetable and schedule of activities for the elections.
The purpose of this meeting is to brief party leaders on the Commission's preparations for the forthcoming elections to be held early in the new year. The elections are in two categories. First, the election petition appeal tribunals set up in the aftermath of the 2023 general election gradually wind up their proceedings, and as they do so, the Commission is required to conduct rerun elections in some constituencies by court order. Secondly, the Commission is also required to conduct by-elections to fill vacancies arising from the death or resignation of members of the National and State Houses of Assembly. So far, the election petition appeal tribunals have ordered the Commission to conduct rerun elections in 34 constituencies, made up of 1 senatorial district, 11 federal constituencies, and 22 state assembly constituencies. The Commission is looking at the first week of February 2024, that is in just a little over 1 month, to conduct both the rerun and by-elections. At the end of this consultative meeting, the Commission will meet to review preparations and announce a definite date, including the detailed timetable and schedule of activities for the elections.
And out of the National Assembly, where the leader of the Senate, Senator Okwemi Bamidele, says there are no plans to increase the 2024 appropriation bill when it is eventually passed to the executive. Speaking in an interview with Channels Television, he affirms that the National Assembly might make further deductions on the budget based on its evaluations if it becomes necessary. Meanwhile, the Senate Committee on Appropriations has asked all standing committees to turn in their report within the next 48 hours. Our National Assembly correspondent, Gloria Mezoke, reports.
It's the concluding stage for National Assembly committees to interface with the Committee on Appropriation as the budget process gathers momentum.
Submit their reports.
In keeping with the plan of the January to December budget cycle, the Joint National Assembly Committee on Appropriation issues a deadline to all committees on when to submit their reports.
Because we have a deadline, and the deadline is we want to ensure that we pass this budget into law latest by 31st of December 2023, so that by 2024, 1st of January, implementation can commence in earnest. And that was why I said, if we don't have this report by Wednesday, we'll be forced to act on the MDAs unilaterally without any consideration to both the chairman and vice chairman of that particular MDA.
Meanwhile, the leader of the Senate, Senator Okwemi Bamidele, has given a hint on what Nigerians should expect when the process is finally concluded.
We're doing everything possible to ensure that there is no increase. Our hope is to be able to return Mr. President's budget, in a way that if we have reasons to reduce, we reduce, but we don't intend to increase it. And where you see an increment, it will not be because either Ministry of Budget, and Economic Planning would have come back to the Committee on Appropriation, with additional proposal based on certain realities, or in the event that they feel that they have more income to address certain things, in which case they would have added more projects, but that will be at the level of their own proposal.
He again underscores that the 2024 budget proposal, which they hope to pass before the year end, will address the concerns of Nigerians. The upper legislative chamber are expected to reconvene plenary on Wednesday, December the 20th, after it was suspended for 1 week to conclude the budget defense sessions with the ministries, departments, and agencies. Gloria Mezoke, Channels Television News.
Well, in part two, after the break, Channels Television wins the Nigeria Media Merit Award for Television Station of the Year for a record 16th time. Well, that's in a moment. Stay with us. Well, welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television Lagos. Well, here's a reminder of our top stories. President Bola Tinubu meets Governor Siminalayi Fubara, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, and other stakeholders from River State at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, as fielding parties agreed to drop impeachment proceedings against Governor Fubara, in addition to 7 other resolutions. Court of Appeal, Abuja affirms Amadu Fintiri as Governor of Adamawa State, upholding the judgment of the State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal. And Channels Television wins the Nigeria Media Merit Award for Television Station of the Year for a record 16th time. And U.S. Defense Secretary Lord Austin says the U.S. has spoken to Israel about making the war in Gaza more surgical.
NBC Prize for Television Station of the Year 2023 goes to
And the winner is Channel TV. Channel TV. Channel TV. Winner, Television Station of the Year, goes to Channels Television.
Your home for the news, Channels Television continues its tradition of excellence, maintaining its position as Africa's most awarded TV station after winning the Nigeria Media Merit Television Station of the Year award for a 16th record time at a ceremony marking its 31st anniversary in Lagos yesterday. The NMMA announced Channels Television as the best TV station in Nigeria. Various awards were also handed in multiple categories to other media houses, with the Nation newspaper bagging 15 awards, while the Nigerian Tribune won the prize for editorial writing. The criteria for the award include the level of adherence to the rules of regulatory bodies, the percentage of local content, response to financial obligations internally and to regulatory bodies, the quality of programming and transmission, objectivity, fairness, and balance. Channels Television trounced Arise TV, TVC, and many others to clinch the prestigious award this year. And for more on the news at 10, let's head over to our Abuja studio where Millicent Walker is sitting by. Well, Millicent, it's good to see you in Abuja studio. It fits you perfectly, I must say.
Thank you. It's great to be here. And congratulations once again. We continue in Abuja with the president, who has asked the board of the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, to get to work with a warning that conduct suggesting a sense of entitlement will not be tolerated and that the board could be dissolved without prior notice over non-performance. President Tinubu was speaking during the inauguration of the board chaired by Chief Pius Akinyelure at the State House, where he asked that the corporate social responsibility for the Niger Delta be taken seriously, considering the devastating effect of oil exploration and exploitation on the environment. Our State House correspondent Larry Darcisi has this report and other engagements at the State House.
This formal process.
The Minister of State for Petroleum, Oil, and the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited are here in the presidential villa for the inauguration of the new board of the company.
Good afternoon. Please.
President Bola Tinubu arrives and hands the team a charge to work together to maximize the potential of the country's oil and gas sector.
Our members of cabinet and your good self should sit as a team and look at what can we do differently. There's so many ways to skin a cat. What can we do differently to bring up profitability, production, high level, and good governance?
The president also emphasized the need to give attention to the environment and the Niger Delta region.
Corporate responsibility too. We add to the devastating effect of environmental problems. Niger Delta must be seen as the goose that lays the golden egg. I must treat that community with deserved respect and care.
Responding, the chairman of the board assured the president of their determination to make a difference.
We all are aware and fully understand the implication of having an oil industry that is moribund. No matter what has happened in the past, we are in to correct the ills in the oil industry.
The president also met with a delegation from Total Energies Worldwide, led by the group chairman and CEO. The president reiterated the federal government's commitment to remove all anti-investment impediments in the country, emphasizing that the aim of the Petroleum Industry Act is to create a favorable investment and work environment. This commitment gladdens the heart of the delegation.
In fact, we are willing to invest more. We have in our portfolio a very rich portfolio of projects, either on the gas part, to bring gas to Nigeria LNG and Train 7, or on the oil, to produce in particular deep water, and more than $6 billion of investments for the next 5 years.
He also highlighted the company's commitment to maintaining its zero flaring position in Nigeria to both heal the environment and monetize all available gas resources in support of Nigeria's energy transition plan. From the presidential villa, Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
Well, the president had other guests where he says that his administration will always uphold media freedom and respect opinions, whether they are adversarial or complementary to his government. The president made the pledge during a meeting with members of the Newspaper Proprietors Association of Nigeria. President Tinubu assured the members that he would carefully consider their request for a review of policies affecting the paper industry, acknowledging concerns about existing regulations hindering local access to newsprint. And to security, where the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Olukayode Egbetokun, is asking police officers to proactively address potential security challenges on the country by increasing the intensity of anti-crime patrols in a professional manner. Speaking in Abuja at a meeting with strategic police managers, the Inspector General of Police reaffirms the commitment of the force to deal with all acts of unprofessional conduct by police personnel. Egbetokun, however, appeals to Nigerians and all residents to be law-abiding at all times.
We should also ensure strict supervision of our men in discharging their duties in a manner devoid of unprofessional conduct. Intelligence-led policing will remain a cornerstone of our efforts, and I urge you all to boost your intelligence capacity and leverage on cutting-edge technology to dismantle criminal elements terrorizing our communities. At this juncture, I call on you all, strategic commanders of the Nigerian Police Force, to rededicate yourselves to the culture of excellence, professionalism, and discipline in the performance of your duties. Let our accomplishments over the past 10 weeks serve as a motivation for even greater successes in the future. Let me also remind you that the present police administration, under my leadership, will not tolerate acts of indiscipline and unprofessional conduct capable of projecting the Nigerian police force negatively. We must commit ourselves to discipline and projection of the core value of decent and modern policing amongst officers and men of the force. This is sacrosanct, and no one should attempt to compromise it. We should embrace peaceful coexistence and shun all forms of violence. Youths are enjoined to stay away from drugs, fund seekers to be moderate in their dealings, and accord respect to one another as well as to all security operatives deployed across the country.
Still on security, it's a court-martial that awaits any personnel of the armed forces engaging in illicit drug use. That's the promise from the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, who paid a working visit to the headquarters of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. General Musa condemned the spate of drug trafficking and abuse in Nigeria. However, he applauds the agency's efforts to curbing the menace. It's the first official working visit of the Chief of Defense Staff to the headquarters of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, as he's received by the chairman, retired Brigadier General Buba Marwa. The issue of drug trafficking and abuse and its impact on national security is the focus of the meeting, as the CDS makes a pledge.
Because a lot of people have benefited so much for it, and they will do anything to sustain that. I want to assure you, sir, the members of the armed forces are fully behind you. We are proud of you, proud of what you have been achieving, and will continue to support you until this menace of drugs is totally eliminated in the country. We know the influence of drugs, what it has done to our youths. A lot of issues on drugs all over the country. That is very, very alarming. And those things have, sneaked into so many places. Even members of the armed forces were not excluded. Now we have introduced part of our recruitment process and courses. For people to go for courses, you must take drug tests.
According to the agency, over 7,000 seizures worth over 800 billion naira with 6,000 convictions have been recorded in the last 3 years. The NDLEA boss believes there's a connection between drug abuse and criminal activities.
Drugs, as you have observed, drugs are central to criminalities, especially the terrorism, wanton kidnapping, insurgency. They all rely on drugs before carrying out their nefarious activities. It is for this reason that the NDLEA has been very ferocious and aggressive in denying these criminals access and availability of illicit substances.
The agency believes the collaboration with the military provides another opportunity to intensify the fight against drug abuse and reduce the menace to the barest minimum.
Still to come on the news at 10. Oil prices rise 1% as international oil giants British Petroleum temporarily suspends all shipments through the Red Sea after recent attacks on vessels by Houthi rebels. That's on Business News. Join us again.
Also, education now. No child of school age will be denied access to quality education. That's a declaration from Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State as the state begins a 2-day summit on education. The event organized to improve access to quality education for a flourishing future. Experts and stakeholders are expected to develop actionable plans and strategies that will drive positive change in the state's education system. Our correspondent, Hajara Ali, reports.
On May the 29th, 2023, Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed made a significant announcement by declaring a state of emergency in education.
We should not only prioritize education and agriculture as critical areas with inestimable value chain that will impact on our plans, but I will also hereby declare an emergency in these two sectors.
The state government is taking further action by organizing an education summit aimed at addressing the challenges in the sector and ensuring that quality education becomes more accessible to all citizens. The summit serves as a platform for key stakeholders in the education sector, both local and international, to chart a roadmap for the future of education in Bauchi State.
Professor Suleiman Buguru, thank you.
Chairman of the summit, Professor Suleiman Buguru, kicks off the session by emphasizing the importance of increased funding for the sector and the need for responsible leadership to drive positive change.
The future of Bauchi State, which is not possible without access and quality of education. Access to education and improving the quality. And for me, I would have added that not just nurturing, but adequately funding.
The Minister of State for Education, Dr. Yusuf Sununu, stresses the importance of collective responsibility between the federal and the state governments in tackling the challenges and calls for collaboration between the states and the federal governments to implement the new policy on Almajiri and out-of-school children menace in the country.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is pertinent to mention at this junction that the challenges in the education sector are enormous, but we are all equal to the task. Collective effort by all stakeholders will defeat the challenges of out-of-school children, poor teacher quality, unconducive teaching and learning environment, gender inequality and discrimination, poor data collection, utilization and management issues, inadequate infrastructure in our school, and inclusion of Nigeria in the list of the world learning poverty countries.
He presents FG's 4-year roadmap documents on education to the governor.
Thank you so much.
Governor Bala Mohammed reiterates his commitment to breaking down the barriers that hinder quality and accessible education in the state as he outlines 7 objectives for the summit.
I consider it appropriate to remind all of us that the challenges facing Nigeria's educational sector are intricate and pervasive, extending beyond the borders of Bauchi State. Recognizing this, our commitment to overcoming these obstacles led us to establish the Ministry of Higher Education and Regional Coordination. This visionary move aims to elevate education across the levels, primary, secondary, and tertiary, to the status of top priority.
The Bauchi state government says it recognizes the need to leverage its strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to achieve its educational goals. With this in mind, the summit later moved into the technical session to iron out the critical issues. Hajera Aliyu, Channels Television News.
But out to some company news, the 19th edition of the annual Thanksgiving dinner of Emzor Pharmaceutical Industries Limited has taken place in Lagos, with guests joining the team to appreciate God for the growth recorded by the company over the years. The founder and group managing director of Emzor, Dr. Stella Okoli, attributes their successes to God and the support the company has received from partners, staff, and associates. The guests present include the First Ladies of Lagos and Ogun States.
Guests arrived Landmark Event Center in Lagos for the 19th annual Thanksgiving dinner of Emzor Pharmaceutical Industries Limited with the theme, Thanksgiving, Our Joyful Lifestyle. The venue, decked with a touch of elegance, sees attendees add flair and color to the charming atmosphere. It's a night of praise, worship, music, dance, and thanksgiving. The chairman of the occasion begins with a welcome address acknowledging the growth Emzor has experienced over the years and leaves a word of advice for the federal government.
We all use this opportunity to appeal to the federal government to do whatever is necessary to encourage local industries in Nigeria.
In her welcome address, the group managing director and CEO of Emzor Pharmaceutical, Dr. Stella Okoli, expresses gratitude to God and all who have stood by them.
It is because of all of you that support us, all of you that make sure that, well, you patronize us. So we mark another year in our book. This is the 19th year of Emzor Thanksgiving.
As for the First Lady of Lagos State, the need for Thanksgiving cannot be overemphasized.
To access the presence of God, we must exhibit a heart of thanksgiving and praise. Maybe that is one of the secrets of Emzor. She doesn't forget to thank God every year.
Former Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, who is the pastor of RCCG Olive Parish, Okechukwu Enelama, urges all to be thankful and grateful always.
Those who say there is no God, you know what, they are right. There's no God in their lives. In the sense that, like, they are not seeing the wonders of His grace. But for those who look for it, they see.
The event climaxes with a cutting of the Thanksgiving dinner cake, followed by the Long Service Award and recognition. With the event concluded, the Chairman Board of Directors of the company leaves a parting shot.
The Nigerian public can rest assured that we are a very quality organization and we continue to put quality first and then affordability next.
With their new ultra-modern WHO-compliant pharmaceutical factory opened in Shagamu, Ogun State, Emzor seems poised to provide unlimited wellness in Nigeria and beyond.
A cement manufacturing giant Lafarge Africa Cement Company PLC has commissioned some community development projects across the 12 communities where it operates in Ewekoro local government area of Ogun State, southwest Nigeria, as part of its year 2023 corporate social responsibility to the host communities. Speaking on behalf of a country chief executive officer, Lolu Alade-Akinyemi, at the Agbesi Estate venue of the event, the head Sustainable Development and Corporate Brand, Titilope Oguntuga, said this has become imperative in order to foster more mutual respect and understanding with the host communities. While appreciating the communities for their cooperation and support, she, however, promised more sustainable business practices in the host communities, Ogun State, and Nigeria at large.
After a successful unveiling of its 2023 Corporate Social Responsibility projects in Gombe and Cross River States, it's now the turn of Ewekoro communities in Ogun State, as Lafarge Africa PLC commissions some community development projects to appreciate its host communities for the outgoing year. This is what informed the presence of staff and management staff of the cement giant, traditional rulers, community leaders, and youth as they roll out the drums to celebrate the Community Day. As part of the celebration, 12 projects which include a 100-meter concrete road, rural electrification, 3 blocks of classrooms, healthcare facilities which have direct impact on the well-being and development of the host communities are commissioned by Lafarge Africa PLC.
We have flagged off the commissioning of several projects in the host communities. For example, we commissioned a secondary school for Ewekoro community. We've recommissioned the equipping of our health center in Kpakpalanto amongst other developmental programs. Our dedication to the communities we serve will continue to be a driving force behind our initiatives.
Some of the traditional rulers and community leaders present at the occasion testify to the harmonious relationships between Lafarge and the host communities as they appreciate the company for giving back to the communities where it operates.
Lafarge is a company that try a lot. Even say, if not Lafarge, I can say most of the community around Eweko local government will not be developed.
In the issue of health, Lafarge provides health facilities for our people.
While the company is being appreciated for its unwavering support to the 12 host communities, the people ask for more, especially the employment of more youth from the area.
We need more cooperation in the area of employment, though Lafarge is doing it, but they've not been doing it to our satisfaction.
The event also witnesses the presentation of bursary awards for indigents of the host communities in higher institutions, school uniforms for some selected peoples, and other economic empowerment tools to beneficiaries.
Well, it's time for business news on the News at 10 with Anne Awawado.
Thank you, Kayode. Hello and welcome to Business News. Let's begin with oil prices. They have climbed more than 1%. Attacks by the Houthis and ships in the Red Sea raised concerns about disruptions to global supply chain. The attack sent the price of international oil benchmark Brent's contract for January higher by 1.86% to $77.9 a barrel, while its contemporary, that's the U.S. West Intermediate crude, was up 1.44% at $72.46 a barrel. But earlier today, a Norwegian-owned vessel was attacked in the Red Sea, while international oil giant BP said it has temporarily halted oil shipments through that region. Meanwhile, some of the world's largest shipping lines like Maersk and MSC have also announced the suspension of travel through the Red Sea due to the string of attacks along that route. The governor of Kaduna State, Uba Sani, has presented his maiden draft budget for next year to the State House of Assembly, estimated at 458.2 billion naira. The spending plan, which is tagged Budget of Rural Transformation for Inclusive Development, has an estimate of 69.5% for capital expenditure and 30.43% for recurrent expenditure.
This budget has been prepared cognizant of the current economic realities in the country. Removal of subsidy on premium motor spirit PMS, high inflation, unification of exchange rate have made it imperative for subnational governments to make necessary adjustment in their policy, program, and project considerations. State must also adopt fiscal discipline, transparency, and accountability through efficiency in allocation and utilization of available resources. The draft 2024 to 2026 estimate are based on the following: adjusting the size of the budget to conform with realization of revenue in view of current economic realities, providing funds for ongoing projects and inherited capital liabilities while embarking on new priority projects within the multi-year frame of 2024 to 2026.
And staying with the 2024 budget, Imo State Governor Senator Hope Uzodinma says his government will deal ruthlessly with any political office holder who by any means tries to sabotage the smooth implementation of the fiscal spending plan through fraudulent and corrupt practices. The governor gave this warning at the Ndubisi Kanu Executive Chambers at the Government House in Owerri, in Imo State, after signing into law the 2024 appropriation bill.
The success or otherwise of this budget will largely depend on the prudent implementation of all the articles and items in the budget. I would therefore plead with the bureaucracy to be prudent in managing whatever resources we are able to achieve. When you hear that you have a budget of 509-something billion naira, it is just a proposal. There are two components in that document. One is revenue, and the second one is expenditure. It means that we will first make the money, because the money is not there yet, before the money will be spent. So for us to make the money, we need all hands on deck.
And from there, we head to the domestic stock market. Investors gained more than 8 billion naira at the close of trade today as NGX enters the final week before Christmas. Sini John Mekwa has the details.
Market report. I'm happy to start this week on a green note. It might be marginal, but it's worth celebrating. 0.02% in the green. That's how the market closed at 72,404.91. Market cap still on 39 trillion. Looking forward to when it will hit 40 trillion naira. That will be the day, you know. But now let's look at the drivers of this. The banking, on that counter, we saw mixed sentiment, but at the end of the day, giants like UBA drove it to the green, 0.07%. Dangote, however, had some profit taken on it, and so the counter is down 0.09%. Eternal Oil and O&O did good right there, 0.09%. So the financials did help the market to recover, even though it's a shaky recovery, but the bull is loud.
Thank you for watching Business News. I'm Anne Nwawadu. It's back to you, Kayode.
Well, thank you, Anne. The Hamas-run health ministry says at least 110 people have been killed in Israeli airstrikes in northern Gaza's Jabalia area. Well, here's Simon Pusey with other international stories and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Hamas health officials say at least 110 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli airstrikes in Jabalia in northern Gaza. There's been no specific comment from Israel, which insists it is targeting what it calls terrorist infrastructure. Jabalia, part of which is a long-standing refugee camp, is in the north of Gaza, an area where, since the early days of the war, Israel has warned people to leave. US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin met Israeli officials earlier as the UK, France and Germany step up global calls for a ceasefire.
The current situation at Al-Shifa Hospital, we're in the emergency department, which is completely packed with patients, as you can see. There are only 5 ambulances working in northern Gaza right now, and patients are self-presenting on donkey carts, on stretchers, being walked down the road. It's incredibly crowded. There are very few staff. Hundreds of patients awaiting surgery. It's just an unbelievable situation. This is a hospital in need of resuscitation.
Officials say a huge explosion at the main oil terminal in Guinea's capital, Conakry, has killed at least 8 people and wounded dozens more. Eyewitnesses said the explosion blew out the windows of nearby houses in downtown Conakry, and hundreds of residents fled the area. The explosion was caused by a fire, but it is unclear what started the blaze. Media reports of the number of people injured vary from 84 to 100. The authorities have ordered schools in the city to close and urged workers to stay at home. Police in Mexico say 12 people have been killed and another 11 injured when gunmen stormed a venue at which a group of young people had gathered for a pre-Christmas religious celebration. The attack happened in Salvatierra, a town in central Guanajuato state. The local mayor said that the victims had no links to any crime groups. While deadly shootouts are not unusual in this region, they normally occur when rival gangs target each other. Local media reported that a group of around 40 mainly young people had gathered on Saturday evening at a former ranch turned into a venue for hire. Pro-democracy media tycoon Jimmy Lai has gone on trial in Hong Kong on charges of breaching national security and colluding with foreign forces. Mr. Lai denies all the charges. Jailed since December 2020, he faces life in prison if found guilty. The self-made millionaire was arrested under a security law which China is accused of using to crush dissent. His case has caused an international outcry and is widely seen as a test of Hong Kong's judicial independence. The landmark trial, delayed for a year, is expected to last for about 80 days. Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić has claimed victory in snap parliament elections, saying his party is headed for an absolute majority. His Serbian Progressive Party, or SNS, is set to win almost 47% of the vote, according to projections. Opposition parties under the Serbia Against Violence banner were well behind, with about 23%, but they claimed electoral fraud favouring the government and called for a recount. Initial results projected the SNS had won more than half of the 250 seats in the National Assembly. Oil giant BP has announced it is pausing all shipments of oil through the Red Sea after recent attacks on vessels by Houthi rebels. It made the decision because of the deteriorating security situation, though said it was a temporary move. A number of freight companies have also suspended their ships after being targeted by Houthis in Yemen. On Monday, one of the world's largest shipping firms said it would no longer carry Israeli cargo via the Red Sea. And Secret Service agents quickly ushered US President Joe Biden to safety after a vehicle crashed into a parked SUV that was part of his motorcade.
Mr. President, why are you losing to Trump in the polls?
The president and his wife Jill Biden were leaving his campaign headquarters after a meal with members of his re-election team. The Wilmington Police Department said it was investigating the collision, which did not result in any injuries. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
In the world of sports, Nigeria's Eniola Bolaji has continued her dominance in para badminton by qualifying for Paralympics in Paris next year. Now, she stunned women's world number 5, Siakuro Konita from Indonesia 2-1 in the SL3 category to win gold medal. In women's single, 5th Pazza Dubai Para Badminton International. And to football, our defending champions Manchester City will continue their title defense against FC Copenhagen in the UEFA Champions League last 16. Other fixtures from today's draw, of course, includes Porto against Arsenal, will be eyeing a first quarter-final since 2010. Victor Osimhen's Napoli will be up against Barcelona. Inter Milan will take on Atletico Madrid. Lazio will face Bayern Munich and RB Leipzig, while we tackle 14-time winners Real Madrid. And that's Sports News Tonight. I'm Kelly Egiga. Back to Coyote.
And the main news again. President Bola Tinubu today met with Governor Siminalayi Fubara, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, and other stakeholders from Rivers State as the feuding parties agree to drop impeachment proceedings against Governor Fubara in addition to 7 other resolutions. But that's the news at 10 for tonight, everyone. Thank you for watching. I'm Kayode Kikuli. Good night.